In this video, I'm going to show you some of the best car camps that I've found so far along the Kent coastline. It's important to say as well that I don't mind paying for car camping spots, but what I will do as I show each place I've car camped at, I will tell you if there was a charge or not. And the all important question as to how I find all these spots, I use three methods. I use the Park for Night app, I use the Ringo app, and I use Google Earth or Google Maps. I think that's the introduction done, so let's jump straight in it and I'll show you park up number one. Was the village of Herne Bay. Herne Bay was a roadside car camp, although there were facilities there for if you have a motorhome or a van, and that was a car park on the seafront that charged £2 a night. Now, the car parking on the seafront was for cars only. Vans and motorhomes are not allowed on there, and parking was free essentially overnight. However, you would have to pay to park there during the daytime. Now, I had to pay during the day in the morning because I went off for a run, so I think it was a good few quid for a few hours, but it's one of those ones that you'll find on the Ringo app. Now, I highly recommend going to Herne Bay. As you can see from here, the beach was absolutely lovely. It's not a sandy beach, it's a pebbly beach. There's a pier, there's a few restaurants, and it's just generally a really nice place to go to. And actually, considering I was parked right on the seafront, it was a very quiet evening. Park up number two was a place called St Margaret's Bay. Now, St Margaret's Bay is actually very close to Dover. Now, where I parked here was a completely free park up. Now, I'd actually found it on Google Maps, but it transpired it was also on Park for Night. So vans and cars can park here and there are no time limits or costs whatsoever. The actual park up is by this monument called the Patrol Monument, and it is atop of a cliff. And in the evening you can even see France across the other side of the water. It really was an amazing park up, and it's within good walking distance of the likes of Dill and Warmer, so for me it was absolutely perfect. The third park up to show you was actually the first car camp I ever did, and that was in the seaside town of Minnis Bay. Now, Minnis Bay was another council car park, but unlike other ones, this one actually did allow for motorhomes to park in, and certainly on another time when I ran past this area I could see the motorhomes in there. Now, parking here is free overnight, although you do have to pay if you're there from 8 o'clock in the morning type thing. Now, also there were public toilets, but they're only open at peak times, so they weren't actually open when I was there. But this location was a great location, and it's great for walking. Along the front of the coastline here you have a path called the Viking Trail Way, which you can take all the way around Kent. Basically, it's about 30 miles long. The fourth park up to show you was when myself and my wife car camped in Dymchurch. Now, Dymchurch was another council car park, and this is one where it was free to park overnight, but you do have to pay in the morning if you're going to stay, I think, past 8 o'clock. So we paid for a few hours so we could explore Dymchurch some more in the morning. Now, this is another park up that you will find on the Ringo app, where you can make payment for the car park there. Now, the car park here was absolutely amazing, as you can see. And there were a couple of cars there overnight with us. There was a van, and there was at least one other Zafira further up. And what was really good about this park up was actually there were public toilets at the entrance, and they stayed open till an amazing 11 o'clock at night. Now, in terms of here, it is important to note there are barriers on the front, so unfortunately vans and motorhomes are not able to park in this car park. This is essentially for cars and small vans only, but as you can see, you are literally right next to the seafront, and it was such an amazing spot, and it was so quiet. There was no noise at all. And actually, although we went out and we bought a takeaway this night, because of how the location worked, you could have quite easily had your stove on the side and cooked your dinner, because there was just that much room. The fifth and final place to show you is when I stayed at Lidon Sea. Now, Lidon Sea is actually just down the road from the Dungeness nuclear power station, and of all the places I've stayed, it is undoubtedly the most desolate location ever. Now, the car park is one that you'll find on Ringo and on Park for Night as well. And like all the car parks pretty much you've seen so far, this was free to park overnight. So as long as you left by 8 o'clock in the morning, then it wouldn't be a problem. Now, this is one where vans can park, and actually I had quite a few vans here with me overnight as well. It was a super quiet location, and it was so nice, even though it was so desolate. What was handy as well is that there were public toilets at this location. They were open till probably about 6 o'clock, and they opened in the morning at about 8 a.m. And that's the fifth and final place that I've stayed along the Kent coast. I hope you found this useful, and I hope it's given you some ideas as to places where you can go. I'm going to do another one of these soon, which will be the Kent villages that I've stayed in, as likewise there's probably about 5 of those so far that I've stayed in. So until next time, take care.